been over 10 years since The Dark Knight came out, and despite the wide range of superheroes to have graced the screen since, I would argue that it remains the best superhero film ever made. With this 2008 blockbuster, Nolan has set the benchmark, finding previously unparalleled commercial and critical success within the genre. What it boils down to is the way it used conventions of other genres to enrich its portrayal of Batman in a way that brings a sense of realism. I feel similarly about Logan, and I consider both films to be in a class of their own. In the case of Nolan's film, I think it's the influence of the crime genre and film noir that marks his graphic novel approach. Death, drugs, violence, injustice. These are all recurring themes in the expansive crime genre, film noir, and the graphic novels released by DC. Crime films mostly involve bank robbers, underworld figures, and ruthless criminals operating outside the law, and The Dark Knight follows suit in this regard. These themes are built into the fabric of Gotham and embodied by characters such as Falcone or Maroni, who are the primary leaders of Gotham's underworld. As for Gotham itself, the way it's conceived in the trilogy is another staple of the genre and the film noir aesthetic, which characteristically features stories set in large, crowded cities to provide a view of the secret world of the criminal, such as the dark nightclub in which Batman confronts Maroni. With principal photography done in Chicago, Gotham was conceived as a modern metropolis, therefore achieving a sense of realism not commonly associated with the superhero genre. On the other hand, Christopher Nolan had been impacted by Richard Donner's Superman film, which made an impression on him because of its resemblance to the real world, in that their version of Metropolis felt like a city you could recognize. This realism in The Dark Knight is largely a result of the lighting techniques used, which the cinematographer Wally Pfister claimed was tied to the general approach that he and Nolan had adopted in filmmaking previously. That is, to keep it grounded in reality by having very natural lighting. However, the low-key lighting associated with film noir still features prominently in scenes that take place at night, or in which the mobsters and the Joker participate. Finally, another trope that is played around with is moral ambiguity.
What I wanted to do was do something that I'd never seen before, which is to take on this superhero story. And he's a superhero who has no superpowers. He's the most human of all superheroes.
Whereas I felt like it had a lot more room to maneuver because the character had never been approached from such a human and a deep point of view before.
That leads me to think that you can tell the story in a realistic fashion. You can ground it with the textures and so forth of the real world, and in that way, hopefully, really take the audience on this journey with this character.
The Dark Knight trilogy had the benefit of a sole director with a clear vision for his version of Batman. His vision entailed a darker tone grounded in realism, deeply connected to the themes of humanity and morality, keeping in line with the graphic novels on which they were based. Deeply connected to humanity, and therefore Batman, is his sense of morality, a journey that begins with injustice. When we first meet Bruce Wayne, a victim of a heartbreaking tragedy that leaves him an orphan, he is suffering from anger, pain, and resentment, and is looking for revenge. His struggles in being denied that satisfaction, training with the League of Shadows, and taking down the corruption and organized crime in Gotham is what sows the seeds for the mythological construction of the Dark Knight. By the end of the first entry in the trilogy, The Dark Knight has changed his initial position of equating justice and revenge by adopting a moral code in which he does not kill, but fights for the betterment of Gotham. The rationale being that in morality, what matters is our choices, a notion that is thematically prominent in The Dark Knight.
You see, this is how crazy Batman's made Gotham. You want order in Gotham. Batman must take off his mask and turn himself in. Oh, and every day he doesn't, people will die.
Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker has been rightfully celebrated as one of the best performances in the history of film, not just Batman. His version of an already popular character was iconic, but more importantly, was integral to the further development of Nolan's Dark Knight. Nolan cited in an interview the theme of escalation, saying that in researching the comics, he is fascinated by an idea that Batman's presence in Gotham attracts criminals and lunacy in dealing with the questionable and dangerous notion of taking the law into your own hands. From the opening scene, we know that the Joker is a criminal mastermind of a singular kind, from the way his henchmen speak about him, but also in how his plan leaves all of them killed except for him. Furthermore, within his second appearance, we know that Batman has established himself as a symbol of hope for the people and fear for the criminals, which is precisely why the threat needed to be escalated.
This town deserves a better class of criminal, and I'm gonna give it to him.
The Joker is shown to be a ruthless supervillain, shaped by the various source materials but built in the mold of Fritz Lang's Dr. Mabuse, as well as Kubrick's Alex DeLarge. There's a tendency in screenwriting to make the antagonist as bad as possible because the hero must be proactive and overcome obstacles for his story to be heroic. For instance, this is why Nolan's matured Batman is more of a detective, as shown by his marked bills, his ballistics test, and phone hacking device he uses to track the Joker. The Joker poses a challenge more dangerous than any other, an ideological one. Ultimately, Batman believes that he can be the catalyst for change in Gotham, and that people will choose to do good if they're not afraid, whereas the Joker has another worldview that is inherently in conflict with Batman's.
See, their morals, their code, it's a bad joke. Dropped at the first sign of trouble. They're only as good as the world allows them to be.
As an agent of chaos, the Joker is trying to show that morality is only a contingency, and that in the worst circumstances, people will sink to his level. To do so, he masterminds plans in which people must choose between various negative consequences. This makes for enticing drama as panic follows and various moral agents act out in ways that either substantiate the Joker's view or justifies Batman's faith in humanity. This is represented in the cinematography in that we often see Batman's imagery higher up, in contrast to imagery of the Joker. Similarly, in the Joker's final scene, the cinematography reflects his efforts to turn the world upside down to prove his point.
This is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. You truly are incorruptible.
This tension between both ideologies reaches its apex with Harvey Dent's transformation into Two-Face.
I took Gotham's White Knight and I brought him down to our level.
In his arc, prompted by the death of Rachel and the Joker's manipulation, his coin carries a lot of significance. Harvey uses a double-headed coin to make his own choices disguised as leaving it up to chance. This could be interpreted as him bending the rules, representative of the corruption in Gotham. Yet, in becoming Two-Face, his coin is damaged, as is he, in adopting chance as a tool of justice. Harvey's arc underpins the battle between the Joker and Batman, and it would appear that the Joker is vindicated because without rules to be bent, there is no chance for hypocrisy, and he managed to bring the White Knight down to his level. Yet, Batman's ideology was proven when neither group of people blew up the other boat in The Prisoner's Dilemma, for instance. Furthermore, Batman is somebody who bends the rules repeatedly. Aside from being a vigilante that is said to have no jurisdiction, his controversial use of the technology suggests a consequentialist approach to morality that prioritizes the greater good. The nuanced ambiguity of morality in this film is what sets it apart from the usually simplistic divide between good and evil in other superhero films. There's no clear winner since the Joker appears to be vindicated by Harvey's downfall, but on the other hand, Batman sacrificing himself ensures that people will keep faith in what Harvey represented and what he wanted Batman to symbolize. That justice and morality will prevail in the face of adversity. What I think separates this 2008 epic is primarily its approach of realism. Through the lens of the crime genre and film noir, The film achieved incredible success in bringing an icon to the screen in a modern but perhaps more faithful way, underpinning the action and the thrills with a sense of gravitas that is not always found in the superhero genre. In doing so, I think that Nolan and co gave us the superhero film we deserved, and that we need to see more of. As always guys, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please subscribe, because everyone needs a break.